So this is just crazy. I have been serging and my overlocking has been perfect. Now suddenly I've changed fabric. I've gone to one layer of fabric and I'm forming loops at the edge. I've changed nothing else on the machine. Everything's at default. Why could this be happening? Well, let me explain. There are a few different reasons, and the first reason, and it's a very common reason, is you will collect dust in your machine. So clean that machine, get it all dusted out, use a brush and get it all dust free. So the second reason is this is thin fabric. This thin fabric has full threads going through, forming loops. Those loops need some depth of fabric. This is quite thin. You can see almost straight through that, can't you? So the depth of thread which travels in and out through the fabric will be not as deep. If I show you, for example, here's 2 layers. So I'm going to just set the machine, leave it as it is, and I'm going to show you 2 layers. Okay, that's much better. So here we go with 2 layers. We still have some loops hanging over. Can you see there? Some loops are still hanging over. So what's happened there is we've given it some depth, and that will allow for some of that thread to be traveling in and out of that fabric. Okay, so that's the second way of changing the depth of those loops that are hanging over. Now, if I show you here, it's the yellow thread that's hanging over. That yellow thread on my machine is actually the lower looper there. Can you see that? That lower looper there is that yellow thread on my machine. So if I tighten that a little bit, let's put 2 threads through there and see what happens. So we've put 2 layers of fabric through there, and we've tightened the machine, and we've still got a little bit hanging over. Actually, that's perfect for some of it, but not quite right. It's still hanging over. And the main reason for this is the knife. You need to adjust the knife. What happens is you're cutting fabric, which is usually thin fabric, and it's often forgotten. The fabric is thin and the loops are forming around it. It's not being able to travel through the thickness. So what you need to do is come out further away and not cut so close to your fabric. So if I change that 3 back to 3 on that lower looper, I've got my 2 thicknesses of fabric. So I'm back to default settings. I've changed my knife, and there you go, perfect. So not even 1 stitch has been missed. So yes, the tension does help, but you will get irregular stitching. But changing that knife and giving yourself more fabric for the loops to go around is what you need to do. Let's show you with 1 layer. So I've got 1 layer of fabric there. So it's just curling over a little bit. So if we tighten it up to 4, so there we go. It's just been pulled a little bit over. So let's just tighten it up to 4, and we'll just try it again, and let's just look for that perfect stitch. And there you go. So it's not always about the tension, it's usually 9 out of 10 times the knife. So this is why the first thing I explained, going back to the start of the video, is make sure this area is clean. If you make sure this area is clean, you're bound to check that area between the knife there. If you clean that section there, get rid of any dust. So just flip that away, just wipe it down, brush between. Let's pop a cloth in between, because that cloth in between will adjust the depth of that knife. That dust in between will adjust the depth of that knife away from the wall, and we don't want to do that. We need to do that with the adjustment screw. So pop that back in. You've got a nice clean working area. Adjust the knife, so always have scraps of fabric handy before you start on your project, and make sure you're avoiding those big loops. Where is that first one? So avoid those big loops that you get. Adjust the knife, perhaps a little bit, tighten the lower loop a little bit, and there you go.